Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first edition of TUS Talks, a monthly podcast which takes a deep dive into the air travel scene here at Southern Arizona's major airport, Tucson International Airport. I'm Bill Buckmaster, two-state Hall of Fame broadcaster, joined by Brian Kidd. Brian is the Deputy Chief of Strategic Marketing and Air Service Development for the Tucson Airport Authority, which oversees the operations here at Tucson International Airport, and Ryan Field, the area's private aviation facility. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hi, Bill. Nice to see you.
It's good to be out here actually at the airport, not in a studio somewhere, and I feel very aviation oriented. And we'll be talking about, over the next half hour, what's been going on here at TUS. Did the holiday season turn out to be exactly or close to what you had thought?
It was pretty close. So Thanksgiving was a little soft because of the whole government shutdown and uncertainty about how that was going to all go. That got resolved. We were hoping people would go ahead and sign up for a last-minute trip. I did. I was not going to do anything and did a last-minute trip for New Year's to see family, but we turned...
Where'd you go?
Just Portland, Oregon. We had lots of family up there. It's not necessarily the winter destination.
Right.
You couldn't even ski up there because it was
But you took
dry.
a nonstop flight from TUS?
I did not. I took a flight from TUS that was connecting because I booked it last minute. And Alaska was, I'm a little frugal, Bill. And Alaska was charging a hefty premium on that.
Well, you're like most air travelers. You do shop for bargains. So we can get into that later about why some people perceive our airport to the north at Phoenix, at Sky Harbor, is more cost effective, but we'll get into that later. Go ahead.
Right. So I do a daily forecast through the holiday period based on history and other adjustments, and we were about 2% below where I thought we'd be for the whole holiday period, which goes from like the Wednesday before Christmas all the way after New Year's. Mm-hmm. So pretty close. Not quite there. I think we probably had a lot of inbound travel because the weather until the last couple of days was outstanding, and I'm sure we saw an influx on that side. So maybe we can add it all up. But for the airport specifically, it's the employments that really drive our revenue, because we get parking, we get Uber and Lyft contributions, we get food and beverage, and of course we get $4.50 every time somebody departs out of here, which has been that way for over 20 years.
So when you say employments, that's people who actually come to the airport,
boarding
go through security, and actually get on an aircraft.
Correct. I mean, our biggest revenue source for people who are arriving, assuming they're from out of town, is rental car, actually, because the airport gets a percentage of that revenue, and of course that's big business for us this time of year. It used post-COVID, when rental car prices were sky high, it was really lucrative. Now prices have kind of finally normalized as supply and demand has come back into alignment. So it's still a big driver, though. And with the rental cars being right here, no getting on a train or anything. You just walk out the door and get your rental car out.
Yeah, and as folks know, I love to travel, and the thing I really don't like about getting a rental car at some airports is getting on then a bus to an off-site facility.
For sure.
That's a beauty here at TUS. You get your bags and you walk not a very long distance, and you're in a rental car.
That's right. It's all right here, and away you go.
Right.
You don't have to wait in another line, or
So
go through a huge parking garage. Even PDX has a huge parking garage now for the rental cars. It's fine, but it's still up an elevator, down an elevator, through a moving sidewalk, like a long moving sidewalk.
Why and I know San Diego did that, they built a huge facility off-site and takes about 5 to 10 minutes in a bus to get there. Why do airports do that? Albuquerque does the same thing.
And the planners tend to look at that real estate as valuable for other things other than for rental cars, even though rental cars are a big revenue driver, but they always want to do something else with that space, either turn it into paid parking. It's usually very close to the terminal. You can charge premium prices. It's just not the movement, and also you get away from the idea of every rental car company having to have its own little operation, like you see at Dallas Love Field or something like that. It's let's put it all in one place, more efficient. I mean, that concept works, but for the traveler, it's still an additional step. The worst is when you have to take a bus to then an individual rental car facility, which in a lot of places is still the case, which you have buses traveling around. The other thing they like is it gets that shuttle. If you have a consolidated facility, it gets those multiple shuttles off the road circulating, so it reduces emissions and traffic and all that. So
but bottom line, for those of us that love Tucson International Airport, it's a facility that has the rental cars right here.
That's right.
And one of the things I'd like to talk about, and we'll explore in our monthly visits, Brian, are really the economics of running an airport, because most travelers have no idea how it all works with landing fees, with rental car people, the concessions. Really, they're tenants, right, of the airport.
Right, that's exactly right. We're essentially the landlord, and they're paying rent to do whatever it is that their business needs to do here. And the airlines specifically have to sign off on certain elements, such as a airline use agreement. So airlines sign up. You're either a signatory airline or you're a non-signatory airline, and the airport makes plans based on that commitment from the airline that they're going to be here for another 5 or 10 years, whatever the arrangement is. And so the airlines are basically going to fund the majority of whatever projects you want to do with the airports. For example, Austin, busting at the seams, just announced they're going to do a $5 billion expansion at 32 gates.
Oh my gosh!
They're overloaded there due to the huge growth. But then, with growth brings in additional requirements. You have to go spend money on infrastructure. So, growth just for growth's sake is not always just a free lunch. It's that's a big commitment the airlines basically have to say is we're on the hook for this, paying this back in terms of bonds or other cash flow tools down the road. So it's they're basically saying we think this market is solid and they're going to be here to stick it out, but their costs are going to go up. There's no way to grow fast enough to absorb $5 billion in bonds, even if it's put over a long period of time. So here at TUS, we have this facility which is great on the front and pretty constrained on once you get past security, but we're still not operating at the passenger levels that we saw back in 2007. So we've already handled this level before. The question is what's going to happen 20 years from now.
So that brings me back to your projection for the holiday was within about 2% of what you had said or what you had thought. Overall, then, 2025, how would it compare, let's say, over the last 10 years as folks actually getting on airplanes here at TUS?
So it was basically almost exactly the same numbers of what we saw in 2024. We don't have December yet. It's going to be a slight increase from 2024. 2023, we saw a big jump. I mean, we've far surpassed where we were pre-COVID, but we're not at all-time highs because a lot of airports were setting their all-time highs now, but we actually, just the way the market has worked, it was at our peak in 2007 and 2008. So
how many passengers came through this airport in 2007-08 year?
4.4 million.
4.4 million.
And we're at 3.9. So we're getting there, but we're not going at great growth rates. This is not a Austin or a Nashville or what's the other hot market these days?
Seattle is
sure.
The airfare war that's going on. We can talk about that a little later, but it's very interesting between Alaska and Delta on who's going to win out as far as long-haul service now to Europe. Getting back, though, to that number, getting within 500,000 visitors of the all-time high, what was so special, Brian Kidd, about 2007 here at this airport?
We had an upstart carrier, of course I wasn't here, but we had an upstart carrier that tried to make a business out of flying point to point to spots that were not previously served called, now it's Express Jet, right?
Express, yeah.
And they
I
flew
remember
to
that.
9 different
Yeah.
destinations out of here with 50-seat jets
Right.
that were taken over from their parent carrier who
Right.
basically spun them off. And the idea, and you're seeing this on the East Coast now with airlines such as Breeze that are flying point-to-point destinations where the big carriers will not serve. I mean, everything, the 4 big carriers, American, Delta, United, and Southwest, are really, by and large, network carriers. They're flying you from, if you're not at a hub, you're flying you to a hub and then on to your final destination. So ExpressJet was one of the few in recent times that tried to make a go of it flying point-to-point, meaning not through a hub, in the western U.S. And nobody's really taken that on successfully at this point.
Who is doing it in the East? You
It's
said the
Breeze.
East.
Breeze is the main carrier. There's just such a density of traffic over there that they can find more spots to go point to point than they can in the West. They're not going to avoid us forever. Tucson would be a good candidate for because we're pretty large, but we don't have a lot of point to point service. We have Alaska doing Orange County. They tried Sacramento. Southwest, of course, still flies Los Angeles and San Diego, which are not technically hubs, although they're getting to be more and more like hubs. From San Diego, you can connect.
Yeah. So,
wherever.
Brian, you're saying that the geography of the East makes point-to-point a more economically viable vehicle, where here you take a look at the geography in the West, it just doesn't make sense.
Right. The only model that works right now in the West is Allegiant's model of flying, say, into, unfortunately, Mesa, which is 2 hours up the road, from a variety of spots to the north. So a seasonal, influx of either second homeowners, snowbirds, visitors, whatever. Allegiant was in this market. Not as a hub, though, so we were at the mercy of whatever the hub could could throw us, basically. So we had interesting in like Provo, Utah. We had Indianapolis. We did have Vegas for a while. Now Frontier's, of course, flying Vegas as well as Southwest.
But Allegiant has used the low-cost model, and they operate out of Mesa. But this whole idea of point-to-point, I want to get back to that. When you're a flyer, when you're a traveler out of Tucson, chances are if you're going back east, you unfortunately will have to use a hub.
That's reality.
And this gets back to the folks that decide, for whatever reason, to drive up to Phoenix to do then what they would perceive to be maybe lower cost and more direct, a nonstop flight. But the point is, to get up to Phoenix, you're going to have to be in a vehicle for a couple of hours, if you're lucky, without traffic delays. Why not start your journey in an aircraft here, simple, at Tucson International Airport, and then go to the hub through Phoenix?
Well, that's the value proposition.
How much leakage is this airport losing to people who still believe they want to go out of Phoenix?
About 34% to Phoenix and 3% to Mesa.
That is unbelievable. That's almost 1 out of 3.
It
is 1 out of 3. Air
It's
travelers have chosen to go to Phoenix. The perception still lingers that, and I think this goes back years ago, before a lot of competition came through, that it is more economical to go out of Phoenix.
Right. We spent a lot of our time trying to dispel that myth, which is that there's just automatically, it must be much more expensive to fly out of Tucson. When in fact, if you look at our top 200 markets, just in terms of total passengers from Phoenix, let's add up Phoenix and Tucson, like the top 200 markets in terms of ranking them, 85 of those are actually cheaper at Tucson. And 37 more are less than $25 more each way, which is, of course, far offset by the travel. So essentially now we're at the point where people are almost paying more to fly out of Phoenix to take that nonstop. So I do think, I don't have a whole lot of proof of this, but this is not working in our favor, but I think people are very, very focused on the nonstop now, more so than before. Like travel has become more of I want to live large a little bit. I'm going to take the premium seat. I'm going to get the premium nonstop flight. I'm going to live it up a little bit. Perceptions, I think, have changed a little bit. I think that's working against us. So the idea of taking a connection, it's a little bit of a deterrent, even though you're not really thinking about the whole picture. And so the airlines are latching onto that too. And the price premium that Tucson has had is actually smaller than it used to be, because I think people are actually willing to pay a little more for the nonstop, which unfortunately we're not nearly the size of Phoenix as we've gone through in here. You know, we're 1/10 of the number of passengers beginning or ending their journey. Forget the connecting opportunities. The fact that Phoenix has all the connections going through there makes their air service even more than it would be on its own, which is already 10 times what it would be versus Tucson. So
we're halfway through our TUS Talks, a new monthly podcast, taking a look at kind of the insider look at the air travel scene here at Tucson International Airport, known in the biz as TUS. We're speaking with Brian Kidd. Brian is the Deputy Chief of Strategic Marketing and Air Service Development for the Tucson Airport Authority. And many people, Brian, I guess would blame you. Why don't you're the bad guy in all this? Why are you not, you would mention that you have a gut feeling that more travelers would like to just do nonstop, and that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to bring in more air service here. And that leads me to kind of looking back at 2025 in that regard. Did you feel there were some victories we could talk about?
Well, I think we have Alaska Airlines that was willing to try some point-to-point out of here, and they continued Orange County. They tried Sacramento. They might try some other things with their E-175 aircraft. American, pretty stagnant. Delta, pretty stagnant. United gave us some larger aircraft. They've backed off a little bit. United is now our number 3 carrier. Delta's number 4. That's kind of a change. I feel like we are in good shape with the airlines in terms of how they see our market, but it's just domestically the industry is not growing very much, 1%. I mean, if you take Breeze out of it, 0%. So there's not a whole lot. The domestic U.S. market is mature. We had, of course, we try to get Canada and Mexico relations. Canadian travelers, unless they have a second home here, are just not visiting the U.S. Visitation's way down, 20% or more. You're not going to get a new carrier to start in an untested market when you have that kind of headwind, right? So they're looking at trends too. You know, how are the trends looking? We're still coming off this sort of sugar high, if you will, when we had all the immigrant traffic heading one way out of Tucson, late 23, early 24.
And that counted toward the folks in your annual count.
Right. So unfortunately, we had the nice big bump,
spike,
but everybody,
right.
we got more capacity during that. And I guess my argument to the customer base out there is that, well, we didn't really fill that up. So the argument here has always been, well, you just need more service and everybody will show up and take it. But it didn't happen. As soon as that influx went away, the demand went back to normal, basically, and the airlines, they respond both directions, both positively and negatively. They saw the demand drop back to sort of the normal level, and they went back down to a lower level of service.
One of the things people don't understand, and they always say, well, this airport doesn't really offer international, but in fact, when you go back to when 1963, November 15th specifically, the new terminal at the time, which was designed by a gentleman by the name of Terry Atkinson, Tucson International Airport became legitimately an international airport with what was basically Aeromexico operating a Douglas DC-6 to Hermosillo and beyond. And so many people feel, and rightly so, I think, where we are geographically, Brian Kidd, it makes so much sense that we have service to Mexico. But the airlines still feel, in many cases, from what I understand, that Tucson is just kind of a suburb of Phoenix.
They just get mesmerized by the market size of Phoenix. So, I mean, we've talked to everyone, of course, and we have Volaris and Aeromexico both at Phoenix now, and they've actually gone out of their way to try to grow Phoenix. And the issue is that if they think that they can get our customer, I don't know why you would want to go that way, just to drive back, to fly back south, but
Yeah.
they have the data. They can see where the customers are coming from by zip code.
Mm-hmm.
They got the sales data. They can see, hey, if we could serve that Tucson customer out of Phoenix, great. We don't have to open up 2 stations.
Right.
And that's the place we're in right now, unless they thought they could make more money at Tucson, which, but Volaris operates a large model, large planes, kind of like Frontier does, with big planes, 189 seats. That's a tough call for a Tucson flight to fill up on any frequency at all. So those airlines that we had before in the past, that were sort of regional carriers over the years. Aeromexico's turned into a business airline. They fly mainly to Mexico City, which would be a good idea. I mean, Guadalajara and Mexico City are still viable options for us. We couldn't do it on a daily basis with a large aircraft. We're just not that kind of market. You notice the prevailing aircraft we have out here now is a E-175, which is 76 seats.
Yeah, right over your shoulder right now, I am looking at that particular aircraft, an aircraft that I like very much. Business class, there's probably 8 to 10 seats, very comfortable, with seating 1 and then 2 on the right side. So it's a very comfortable aircraft. And I'm looking right now at a Delta product that probably just came in from Salt Lake City. So again, another hub. And you had said something earlier, and I mentioned that one of the things I'm very interested in, I think travelers are interested in the whole economics of this industry. When you recruit, and I know you spend so many hours every day trying to bring in new airlines or keep the existing airlines we have, if some airline is new to Tucson, how does that work contractually, Brian Kidd? Do they sign a 6-month contract? I'm sure you want a longer term deal. How does that work?
So the trade-off is, if they will sign on as a signatory carrier, they get a lower rate to operate here. So let's use Frontier as an example. They're remaining non-signatory, which means technically they're only on the hook for 30 days.
A non-signatory?
Yeah, but they have to pay 25% higher rates to do that.
Okay.
But we do cater to that, so that we have a different fee structure for people that just want to kind of pay a cost per turn, meaning kind of all-in cost to use our jet bridge, waiting room. You just pay by and they take the space. They don't really lease space. It's all rolled into a cost per turn, which for them is advantageous because they don't necessarily want to be hooked in. Frontier, for better or worse, has a history of changing their markets a lot.
Going, right?
4th round here, right?
Yeah, how many rounds? Who knows?
I think it's, yeah.
Is it 4?
I think it possibly is 4 if we go way back to the beginning.
Well, I was here in the 60s and so were they, and then I came back in early 1988, and they've come and gone, and they're here again.
Right.
But I did not understand how that signatory and non-signatory works, so
right.
I'm here to learn something, and I've learned it.
We would like them to commit to longer. We're happy that they're staying here and going to stick it out and keep trying things. Mm-hmm. But
their hub is still Denver.
That's their biggest operation.
Right.
Their other big cities are places like Orlando and Baltimore, and they're scattered around. They tend to focus on the bigger cities, because that's where the most traffic is. I mean, they have aircraft up here that holds, the biggest one they have holds 240 seats.
Really?
Which is,
Wow.
well, talk about a lot to fill up. I mean, their smallest aircraft
Do they
holds
fly a how many seat aircraft in here?
240. We have
240?
anywhere from 200.
To where?
Their
To Las
smallest one is
Vegas?
240, right.
Well,
It's Las Vegas and Denver, and now it's going to be Salt Lake. They're adding on January 22nd, and they have tried to go head-to-head with American at DFW, which is a tough call. Obviously, they like to go into these hub airports and undercut the hub carrier who prices the local traffic very high. I mean, if you look at the prices from Tucson to DFW, you're going to be shocked. Then go look at Frontier's price, and you'll understand what the logic was.
But for us, as the Tucson Air Traveler, when we talk again with our February edition of TUS Talks, we will hope Frontier will still be here.
They, without telling any tales out of school, they are going to keep trying things until they find something that sticks. Denver's doing fine. The other ones are not. So I just want to say, if you're going to Las Vegas, Salt Lake, or DFW, please check them out because they need the help.
And so looking ahead here in 2026, still on the horizon is Alaska and Horizon, right?
That's right.
I know you're doing a lot of efforts. In December, we had some people from Alaska who came down to take a look at the operation here. Has there been, since we talked last in December, Brian Kidd, have you heard any feedback? Did they say thanks for the visit? I hope they did, right?
It's all positive.
Yeah.
All positive. I don't know if you saw in the news feeds, but Alaska's got a lot of aircraft coming,
right?
Large aircraft, and they're committed. What was their latest phrase? They want to be considered the fourth global airline in the U.S. They're kind of disparaging Southwest.
And I mentioned earlier in our podcast what's going on with Delta and Alaska. Alaska, with their acquisition of Hawaiian Airlines, gave them some very big aircraft. They've changed the livery and everything. They've got a new look on their aircraft. They want to be an international carrier, and they are now. They're flying to Tokyo. They have some connections now. They'll be flying nonstop to Rome and to London. And I saw recently that Delta said, we can do that too. And they've actually added a nonstop to Barcelona out of SeaTac Airport. So what's going on there? I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you have that competition, it's good for us, the traveler.
100%. Never want to be a monopoly. You get charged monopoly fares, as anybody who flies out of a fortress hub like DFW or Atlanta knows. They have the breadth of service, but they don't have the economical fares, that's for certain. So,
all right, Brian, before we go, let's direct people to the website, and you'll find all sorts of information about what's coming up, right?
Right. We will have a new one up within the month as soon as we get past this this meeting that we have to use the old website for. I won't get into that, but it's going to be flytucson.com still. It's just going to have a new look and feel. It's going to function more as a retail site for the traveler. It'll have more of a promotions and sign-ups and registrations feel to it to get special offers, more like you'd see it at a regular website for a company that's selling products. I mean, obviously we don't sell the final product, but we can give you deals that'll make it an easier choice to choose TUS. All right. So that's where we're headed with that.
Okay, Brian Kidd, the Deputy Chief of Strategic Marketing and Air Service Development for Tucson International Airport and the Tucson Airport Authority. Brian, always a pleasure talking to you, and as folks know, or if they don't know, I love to travel, been to 100 different countries, flown on, the list is right about 80 different air carriers, and Brian, I looked at that list the other day, and at least 2/3 are no longer in service, but it's always a pleasure talking air travel here on our first edition of TUS Talks. Thank you, sir.
Looking forward to the next one.
All right.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks.